Dr. Alina Vasquez walked into the control room at 3 in the morning. The coffee in her hand was cold, but she drank it anyway. She had been awake for 18 hours straight, listening to the same strange signal over and over again, the deep. Space communications array in Chile was quiet at this hour. Most of her team had gone home hours ago, but Alina could not leave. Not when they had received something like this. "Computer, play the signal again," she said to the empty room. The speakers came alive with a sound that made her skin crawl. It was not random noise from space. It was not a pulsar or a black hole. This was something else. Something that sounded almost like music, but wrong. Like a song being sung by someone who was dying. Alina had been working with space signals for 20 years. She knew the difference between natural sounds and artificial ones. This signal was definitely artificial. Someone or something had made it on purpose. The problem was that it came from a star system 47 light-years away from Earth. She pulled up the data on her screen. The signal had been repeating every 6 hours and 23 minutes for the past 3 weeks. It came from the direction of Kepler 442, a star system that scientists thought might have planets that could support life. Dr. Vasquez Alina turned around. James Park, one of her junior researchers, stood in the doorway. He looked tired and worried. "You should go home, James," Alina said. "Get some sleep." "I could say the same to you." James walked over to her workstation. "Any progress with the signal?" Alina shook her head. "The computer has tried every language database we have. Human languages, mathematical patterns, even dolphin sounds. Nothing works." James sat down at the computer next to hers. "Is not meant for us?" "What do you mean? What if whoever sent this signal was not trying to talk to humans? What if they were just sending it out to anyone who might be listening?" Alina thought about this. It made sense. If she was alone on a sinking ship in the middle of the ocean, she would send out a distress call to anyone who could hear it. She would not care what language they spoke. "You might be right," she said. "But how do we figure out what they are?" James pulled up a new program on his computer. "What if we stop trying to translate the words and start looking at the emotions?" Alina raised an eyebrow. "Emotions? Every intelligent species probably feels fear, pain, happiness. Maybe. The way they express these feelings in sound is similar." It was a crazy idea, but Alina had tried everything else. She connected the emotional analysis program to the alien signal and pressed play. The computer worked for several minutes, breaking down the sound patterns and comparing them to human emotional expressions. Finally, it displayed results on the screen. Alina felt her heart stop. The analysis showed 3 main emotions in the signal: desperation, sadness, and fear. Lots of fear. "This is a distress call," she whispered. James leaned forward. "Are you sure?" Alina played the signal again, but this time she listened differently. Now that she knew what to listen for, she could hear it. The rising and falling. Tones that sounded like someone crying. The rapid repetitions that sounded like panic. The long, low notes that sounded like someone saying goodbye. "Need to wake up Dr. Morrison?" Alina said, reaching for her phone. Dr. Morrison was the director of the facility. He was not going to be happy about being woken up at 3 in the morning. But this could not wait. 30 minutes later, Dr. Morrison arrived at the facility with messy hair and an angry expression. "This better be important, Alina," showed him the signal analysis. Dr. Morrison's expression changed from anger to confusion to amazement. "You are telling me this is an alien distress call?" "That is what the data suggests," Alina said. "Someone 47 light-years away is asking for help." Dr. Morrison was quiet for a long time. He listened to the signal 3 times before speaking again. "We need to contact the United Nations immediately," he said. "This changes everything." Over the next 2 weeks, teams of scientists from around the world worked on the signal. They used the most advanced computers and artificial intelligence. Programs on Earth. Slowly, they began to understand more. The beings who sent the signal called themselves the Zilani. Their world was being attacked by something they called the Devourers. The Zilani were dying. Their cities were falling. Their children were being scattered to space in tiny ships, hoping to find safety somewhere else. The message was simple and heartbreaking. We are dying. Our children scattered to the void. If any hear this, please remember us. But the signal contained more than just words. It contained data about Zilani technology, including medical treatments that could cure diseases that still killed humans. The aliens were offering everything they knew in exchange for help that they probably never expected to receive. The world leaders met in emergency sessions. Some wanted to ignore the signal. The Zilani were too far away, and Earth had its own problems. Others wanted to send a peaceful mission to make contact, but there was a third group, led by General Patricia Hayes of the Terra Defense Fleet. She had a different idea. They asked for help, General Hayes said during a meeting at the United Nations. We should give them help. What kind of help are you suggesting? Asked the Secretary General. General Hayes smiled, but it was not a nice smile, the kind of help that humans are best at providing. The vote was close, but General Hayes won. Earth would respond to the Zilani distress call. But they would not send doctors or diplomats or relief supplies. They would send warships. Lots of them. Alina watched the news reports from her office. In Chile, she kept thinking about that first night when she heard the signal. She had wanted to help the Zilani, but she never imagined it would lead to this. 847 ships of the Terra Defense Fleet were preparing for the longest military mission in human history. They would travel 47 light years to fight an enemy they had never seen, to save a species they had never met. Alina wondered what the Zilani would think when humanity finally arrived. They had asked for help, but would they be ready for the kind of help that humans were bringing? She looked up at the stars through her office window and whispered, "Hold on, we're coming." Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the TDS Determination, watching 846 other ships stretch out in formation around her. 2 years had passed since they left Earth, 2 years of traveling through hyperspace toward a star system that most humans had never heard of. The Terra, the Defense Fleet, was the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. Every ship was new, built specifically for this mission. They carried the most advanced weapons Earth could produce. Along with 40 million soldiers, pilots, and support crew, Sarah had volunteered to lead this mission the day she heard about the Zilani distress call. She was 53 years old and had spent her entire adult life preparing for humanity's first contact with aliens. She just never thought it would happen like this. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Commander Williams from the communications station, "we are receiving another transmission from the Zilani." Sarah walked over to the communications console. For the past 6 months, the Zilani signals had been getting stronger as the human fleet got closer to their star system. The messages were always the same: desperate pleas for help, updates on their losses, and recently, something new. "Play it," Sarah ordered. The bridge speakers filled with the strange musical language of the Zilani. The translation appeared on the screen a few seconds later. Day 732 since the first attack. The orbital cities of Veltar and Morden have fallen. 3 billion souls lost to the void. Our defensive fleets are destroyed. The Devourers approach our homeworld. We estimate for days before they reach the surface. To anyone who hears this message, we thank you for listening. Our children have been evacuated in the remaining ships. Perhaps they will find safety among the stars. We go now to join our ancestors. May the universe remember that we tried to be good. The bridge was silent when the message ended. Sarah had heard dozens of these messages during the journey, but they never got easier to listen to. The Zilani were dying slowly, and they knew it. Admiral Williams said quietly, "There is more." "We received a direct response to our identification signal." Sarah's eyebrows rose. "Whoa." 3 months ago, the fleet had sent a message to the Zilani, telling them that Earth had received their distress call and was coming to help. The Zilani had not responded until now.
"Oh, let me hear it."
A new voice came through the speakers. This one sounded different from the broadcast messages. It was calmer, more controlled, but Sarah could still hear the fear underneath. "Unknown species from the planet Earth, we received your message claiming you come to offer aid. We are grateful beyond words that someone heard our call. However, we must warn you to stay away. The Devourers are too strong. They have consumed 12 worlds and their fleets number in the millions. We do not wish to see another species destroyed because of us. If you truly wish to help, please take our children and give them a safe place to live. Our ships cannot travel far, but yours seem capable of great distances. Save who you can. There is no hope for the rest of us. Sarah stared at the translation. For a long moment, the Zilani were trying to protect humanity from their own enemy. Even while facing extinction, they were thinking about the safety of a species they had never met. Lieutenant Commander Williams, Sarah said, "Send a response, Williams." A CTIV, a TED, the communication system. "Go ahead, Admiral." Sarah spoke clearly into the microphone. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Fleet. We received your distress call 2 years ago. We are now 4 days away from your system, with 847 ships and 40 million personnel. We did not come here to evacuate your children. We came here to save all of you. Please stand by for our arrival." She nodded to Williams, who cut the transmission. "Admiral," said Commander Rodriguez from the tactical station. "Long-range sensors are picking up movement in the Zilani system." Lots of movement. Sarah walked over to the tactical display. The screen showed a three-dimensional map of the Kepler 442 system. The Zilani homeworld was a blue-green planet in the habitable zone around the star, but surrounding it were thousands of red dots. "How many ships are we looking at, Commander?" Rodriguez worked at his console for several minutes. "Preliminary count shows approximately 40,000 Devourer vessels in the inner system, with more arriving every hour. They range in size from small fighter craft to ships larger than our biggest dreadnoughts." Sarah studied the display. The Devourers had positioned their fleet around the Zilani homeworld like a net. They were not just attacking, they were surrounding their prey to make sure nothing escaped. "What about Zilani forces?" "Very few, Admiral. Maybe 200 ships total, and most of those appear to be civilian transports trying to escape." Sarah felt a cold anger building in her chest. The Devourers were not just winning this fight, they were crushing a peaceful species that had no real ability to defend itself. "Send a message to all ships," Sarah ordered. "Battle stations. We entered the system in 6 hours." The bridge crew began preparing for combat. Sarah watched them work and thought about the conversation she had with General Hayes before leaving Earth. "The Zilani think we are coming to rescue them," General Hayes had said. "But that is not exactly what we are doing." "What do you mean?" Sarah had asked. "Rescue implies saving someone from danger and taking them somewhere safe. What we are actually doing is eliminating the danger completely." Sarah understood now what the general meant. The Zilani expected humanity to help them run away from their problem. But humans did not run away from bullies. They fought them. Admiral Williams called out. "We are receiving another transmission from the Zilani. They sound ... confused." "Put it through." The Zilani voice came through the speakers again, but this time it sounded shocked and frightened. "Earth Fleet, we have detected your approach on our sensors. Your ship formations suggest a military force. We ask for help with evacuation, not warfare. The Devourers cannot be defeated. They have destroyed every species that has tried to. Fight them. Please reconsider your approach. We do not want your deaths on our conscience." Sarah almost smiled. The Zilani were worried about humanity's safety. Even though they were the ones facing extinction, she keyed the communication system again. "Zilani Command, this is Admiral Chen. You sent out a distress call asking for help. We brought everything we had. Prepare your people for liberation." The response came back quickly, and Sarah could hear the panic in the Zilani voice. "Liberation, Admiral Chen. There are over 40,000 Devourer ships in our system." "How many ships do you have?" Fleet spread across space like a steel constellation. 847 ships against 40,000. Any reasonable military commander would call those impossible odds, but Sarah was human. And humans had never been particularly reasonable when it came to protecting others. 847, she answered. "It will be enough." The first human ship to enter the Kepler 442 system was the scout vessel TDS Pathfinder. Captain Lisa Torres sat in the pilot seat, watching her sensors light up with enemy contacts. 40,000 Devourer ships filled the space around the Zilani, homeworld like angry insects around a hive. God, whispered her co-pilot, Ensign Clark. There are so many of them. Lisa had seen the intelligence reports, but seeing the enemy fleet with her own eyes was different. The Devourer ships looked wrong. They were not built like human vessels with clean lines and metal hulls. Instead, they looked grown rather than constructed. Their surfaces were covered with what looked like veins and muscles. Some of the larger ships actually seemed to be breathing. Pathfinder 2 Admiral Chen, Lisa spoke into her communication device. I have visual confirmation of the enemy fleet. They are disturbing to look at. Admiral Chen's voice came back immediately.
I'll describe.
What you see, Captain? The ships appear to be partially biological, Admiral. They look like someone crossed a starship with a living creature. I am also detecting some kind of energy field connecting all the ships together. A communication network. Possibly. Or maybe something more. The energy readings suggest they might be sharing information at a level we have never seen before. Lisa watched as one of the smaller Devourer ships moved toward her position. It was still several million kilometers away, but something about its movement made her uncomfortable. It did not fly like a normal ship. It moved like a predator that had noticed prey. Admiral, I think they have detected me. Recommend I return to the fleet. Agreed. Come home, Captain. Lisa turned her ship around and activated the hyperspace drive. She disappeared into the void between space and time. She did not see the Devourer ship suddenly accelerate to follow her trail. 6 hours later, the entire human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zilani system. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Determination, looking at the tactical display that showed the positions of all 40,000 enemy ships. Commander Rodriguez, what is the status of our battle plan? Rodriguez pulled up a holographic map of the system. Phase 1 calls for the fast attack squadrons to hit their outer patrol groups, while the main fleet engages their central formation. Phase 2 involves the breakthrough squadrons pushing toward the Zilani homeworld to break their blockade. Studied the plan. It was a good strategy, but it relied on the Devourers fighting like humans. She had a feeling that was not going to happen. Admiral called out Lieutenant Commander Williams. The Devourers are moving. All of them. Sarah looked at the tactical display and felt her stomach drop. The 40,000 enemy ships were not scrambling to defend against the human attack. Instead, they were moving into a perfect sphere formation around the human fleet. They are surrounding us, Rodriguez said with disbelief. How did they coordinate 40,000 ships that quickly? Sarah thought about Captain Torres's report about the energy field connecting the Devourer ships, because they are not 40,000 separate ships. They are one giant organism with 40,000 bodies. The implications of this hit everyone. On the bridge at the same time, fighting 40,000 individual ships was hard enough. Fighting one super-intelligent creature that controlled 40,000 ships was something else entirely. Incoming transmission from the Devourer fleet, Williams reported, put it through. The voice that came through the speakers was unlike anything Sarah had ever heard. It sounded like thousands of voices speaking at the same time, creating a harmony that was both beautiful and terrifying. New species, you have entered our feeding ground. You will join the collective. Your knowledge will become our knowledge. Your strength will become our strength. Resistance is pointless. Sarah keyed the communication system.
This is Admiral.
Sarah Chen, of the Terran Defense Fleet. You will withdraw from this system immediately and release all captured beings. The response came back as a sound that might have been laughter if it had not been so cold. Terran Defense Fleet. We have consumed the knowledge of 17 species. We know of defense. This is not defense. This is aggression. You are predators like us. Why do you protect prey? Sarah was quiet for a moment. The question was actually a good one. Why had humanity traveled 47 light-years to fight for a species they had never met? Because they asked for help, Sarah said simply. This time, the silence from the Devourer. Fleet lasted for several minutes. When they spoke again, their voice sounded confused. This response is not logical. Zilani offer no benefit to your species. It's helping them weakens you and provides no advantage. Not everything is about advantage, Sarah replied. Sometimes you help people because it is the right thing to do. We do not understand this concept. We will study your species after we consume you." The transmission ended, and immediately the Devourer ships began to attack. Sarah had expected a massive coordinated assault, but what happened was somehow worse. The Devourer ships did not attack in waves or formations. They attacked like a living thing, with thousands of claws, tentacles, and teeth. Some ships fired energy weapons, while others released clouds of smaller attack craft. Some of the larger vessels actually opened like mouths and tried to swallow human ships whole. All ships, this is Admiral Chen, engage the enemy. Remember, we are not here to win a fair fight. We are here to save the Zilani. The human fleet responded with everything. They had kinetic railguns, fired solid metal slugs at a significant percentage of light speed, plasma cannons, superheated space itself. Nuclear missiles created miniature suns that burned away anything within 1,000 kilometers. But for every Devourer ship the humans destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. The enemy regenerated damaged vessels by combining the remains of destroyed ones. They adapted to human weapons in real time, developing shields and armor that became more effective with each passing minute. Admiral Rodriguez called out urgently, "We are losing ships faster than we can replace them. At this rate, we will be overrun in less than 3 hours." Sarah watched the tactical display as another human destroyer disappeared in a ball of fire. The Devourers were not just winning, they were learning from every engagement, becoming stronger and smarter with each victory. But Sarah had not brought humanity's largest fleet across the galaxy to give up at the first sign of trouble. "Send a message to Captain Webb aboard the TDS Retribution," she ordered. "Tell him to prepare the ground assault teams." Rodriguez looked confused. "Admiral, we have not established space superiority yet. A ground assault would be suicide." Sarah smiled grimly. "Captain Webb specializes in impossible missions. Besides, the Devourers want to study us. Let's give them something to study." She opened a communication channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Execute Battle Plan Omega. We are going to show these creatures what humans do when someone threatens innocent people." Battle Plan Omega was something that Admiral Chen had hoped she would never have to use. It was not a plan designed to win a clean victory. It was a plan designed to make the enemy pay such a terrible price for their aggression that they would never want to fight humans again. The Devourers were about to learn why humans were the apex predator on their home planet. Captain Marcus Webb pressed his back against the wall of the Devourer ship as another wave of bioelectric energy swept through the corridor. The inside of the enemy vessel was like being trapped inside a giant stomach. The walls pulsed with a heartbeat, and the floor felt wet under his boots. "This is disgusting," muttered Sergeant Kim as she checked her weapon. "The whole ship is alive." Marcus nodded. Battle Plan Omega had called for ground assault teams to board Devourer ships and attack them from the inside. It was a crazy plan, but it was working. "Movement ahead," whispered Corporal Jackson from his position at the front of the squad. Marcus looked down the corridor and saw them. Devourer ground troops looked like a nightmare combination of machine and flesh. They had metal armor grown directly into their skin, and their eyes glowed with the same energy that connected all the ships together. "Remember the briefing?" Marcus said quietly to his team. "These things share information instantly. Whatever we do to one of them, the others will know about immediately." The Devourers had spotted the human team. They began moving down the corridor, with movements that were too smooth and coordinated. Marcus could tell they were communicating without making any sound. "Fire," Marcus ordered. The human weapons lit up the corridor with plasma bolts and kinetic rounds. But the others adapted. Their armor began to shift and change, becoming more resistant to the human weapons. "They are learning," Jackson called out, as his shots began to bounce off enemy armor. "Then we learn faster," Marcus replied. He pulled out a grenade that Dr. Tanaka had given him before the mission. It was not a normal explosive. It was an electromagnetic pulse weapon designed specifically to disrupt the energy field that connected all Devourer units. Marcus threw the grenade and counted to 3. The explosion was not large, but its effect was immediate. The Devourers stopped moving in their smooth, coordinated way. Instead, They began to stumble and look around as if they were confused. The EMP is blocking their connection to the collective, Marcus realized. Move forward while they are disconnected. The human team pushed deeper into the ship. Marcus had expected to find a normal bridge or engine room, but what they found was much worse. The center of the ship was a massive chamber, filled with what looked like a giant brain made of metal and flesh, but the brain was not alone. Suspended around it in clear containers were dozens of creatures from different species. Some looked like the Zilani. Otters were completely alien. All of them had tubes and wires connecting them to the central brain. Jesus Christ, Sergeant, Kim whispered. Are they alive? Marcus moved closer to one of the containers. The creature inside was definitely Zilani, tall, crystalline, covered with the natural lights that made their species beautiful. But its eyes were open and aware. It was conscious and trapped. They are not just killing their victims, Marcus said into his radio. They are keeping them alive and connected to the hive mind. This is not just conquest. This is slavery. Admiral. Chen's voice came back immediately. Captain Webb, can you free them? Marcus studied the connections between the prisoners and the central brain. I think so, but I need Dr. Tanaka down here. This is beyond my expertise. Dr. Tanaka is already on her way with a full science team. Marcus set up a defensive perimeter. Around the chamber while they waited, more devourers arrived every few minutes, but the EMP grenades kept them confused and uncoordinated. It was like fighting enemies who had suddenly gone blind and deaf. Dr. Yuki Tanaka arrived 30 minutes later with a team of xenobiologists and computer specialists. She took one look at the chamber, and her face went pale. This is horrible, she said. They are using the prisoners as living computers. Each brain is being forced to process information for the collective. Can we disconnect them safely? Marcus asked. Dr. Tanaka moved to one of the containers and began studying the connections. The process is incredibly complex. They have tapped directly into the nervous system. If we cut the connections wrong, we could kill them. And if we leave them connected, they will suffer forever. Marcus made a decision that would change the course of the war. Doctor, I need you to find a way to reverse the connection. What do you mean? Instead of the prisoners feeding information to the devourer brain, can we make the devourer brain feed information to the prisoners? Dr. Tanaka stared at him for a moment. You want to give the prisoners control of the ship? I want to give them control of the entire collective? Dr. Tanaka worked for 2 hours while Marcus and his team fought off wave after wave of devourer attackers. The MP grenades were becoming less effective as the enemy adapted to them. But the humans kept finding new ways to disrupt their coordination. Finally, Dr. Tanaka called out, I think I have it, but this is going to be dangerous. If I'm wrong, we could destroy the minds of every prisoner in the collective. And if you are right, we could free every species the devourers have ever captured. Marcus looked at the trapped Zilani in the container nearest to him. Its eyes met his, and somehow he knew it understood what they were trying to do. The creature nodded slightly. Do it, Marcus ordered. Dr. Tanaka activated her modified equipment. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the lights in the chamber began to flicker. Central brain started to pulse faster. The containers holding the prisoners began to glow suddenly. The devourer attackers in the corridor stopped moving completely. They stood like statues, their glowing eyes dim and confused. It is working, Dr. Tanaka said with excitement. The prisoners are taking control of the neural network. Marcus opened a communication channel to Admiral Chen. Admiral, we have done something down here that you need to know about. What did you do, Captain? We just gave the victims control of their own prison. On the bridge of the Determination, Admiral Chen watched in amazement as the Devourer fleet suddenly stopped attacking. 40,000 ships that had been moving, like parts of a single organism, now drifted aimlessly through space. Admiral Commander Rodriguez called out, We are receiving a transmission. It is from the Devourer fleet, but the voice is different. Put it through. The voice that came through the speakers was weak and shaky, but it was clearly not the cold harmony of the collective they had heard before. Human fleet. This is This is first speaker Valdana of the Zilani. We are in control now.
At
Prisoners have taken the collective. We are free. Admiral Chen felt a wave of relief wash over her. First speaker, this is Admiral Chen. What is your status? We're disconnecting the neural links and freeing our people. But Admiral, you must know the truth. The Devourers were not born evil. They were like us once. They were victims of this. Same process, thousands of years ago. The collective has trapped the consciousness of hundreds of species. Can you free them all? We can try. But it will take time, and some may be too damaged to recover. Admiral, your species has done something incredible today. You did not just save us. You saved everyone. Admiral Chen looked out at the 40,000 Devourer ships that were now under the control of their former prisoners. Hundreds of species were about to be freed from a slavery that had lasted for millennia. First speaker, what do you need from us? Time. Protection while we complete the separation process. And Admiral, yes, thank you. When we sent out our distress call, we never imagined anyone would hear us. And we certainly never imagined they would bring an entire fleet to save us. Admiral Chen smiled. First speaker, you asked for help, brought everything we had. 6 months after the liberation of the Devourer Collective, Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the council chamber on the Zilani homeworld. Around her sat representatives from 47 different species, all of whom had been freed from the neural prison that had trapped them for centuries or even millennia. The chamber itself was beautiful beyond description. The Zilani had built it from living crystal that responded to emotions with changing colors and patterns of light. Right now, the walls glowed with warm golden light that seemed to pulse with hope and gratitude. First speaker Valdana rose from her seat. She was tall and graceful like all Zilani, but the trauma of her imprisonment had left marks on her crystalline skin. Dark lines ran through her natural light patterns like scars. Admiral Chen Valdana said in perfect English, the collective had contained knowledge of every language from every captured species, including several Earth languages the Devourers had learned from human transmissions. We have called this gathering to formally thank your species for what you have done. Sarah shifted uncomfortably. She had never been good with ceremonies and speeches. First speaker, we only did what anyone would do. You asked for help. Sound like musical laughter came from the assembled representatives. Sarah realized they were amused by her response. Admiral, said a representative from a species called the Kethmori, who looked like walking trees with silver bark. We have been studying human behavior for 6 months now. We have learned that what you call what anyone would do is actually very unusual. Another representative, this one from an aquatic species that needed a water-filled suit to attend the meeting, spoke up. Most species respond to threats by defending themselves or running away. Humans appear to respond by attacking the threat directly. That is not exactly correct, said Sarah. We respond by eliminating threats to people who cannot defend themselves. Valdana touched a control panel, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a map of the local region of the galaxy with hundreds of star systems marked in different colors. Red systems were controlled by the Devourer Collective, Valdana explained. Yellow systems had been attacked, but not yet fully consumed. Green systems were free. Sarah looked at the map and felt her breath catch. The red systems numbered in the thousands. The Devourer Collective had been much larger than anyone had realized. Blue systems, Valdana continued, represent species that have been completely freed and restored to their homeworlds. As you can see, there are now more blue systems than there ever were green ones. The map showed entire sectors of space that had gone from red to blue. Hundreds of species that had been declared extinct were now rebuilding their civilizations with the help of their former prisoners. The total number of lives saved by your actions, said the Kethmori representative, is approximately 460 billion sentient beings. Sarah sat down heavily. She had known the numbers intellectually, but seeing them displayed like this made the reality hit her for the first time. But that is not why we called this meeting, Valdana said. We have a proposal for your species. A new hologram appeared showing star charts and technical specifications. Sarah recognized some of the designs as advanced versions of human technology. Every species represented here wishes to share their knowledge with humanity, Valdana explained. Medical technology that can extend human lifespan to 500 years, energy systems that could power entire planets, transportation methods that could let you cross the galaxy in days instead of years. Sarah studied the technical readouts. The technology being offered was centuries ahead of anything Earth possessed. With these gifts, humanity could become one of the most advanced species in the galaxy almost overnight. "What do you want in return?" Sarah asked. The question seemed to confuse the assembled representatives. They looked at each other with expressions Sarah could not read. "Return?" asked the aquatic representative. "Admiral, we do not understand." "You are offering us incredibly valuable technology. What do you want from humanity in exchange?" Valdana S. Light patterns shifted to what Sarah had learned was the Zilani equivalent of surprise. "Admiral, you saved our lives. You freed us from eternal slavery. You gave us back our children and our futures. We are not offering you a trade. We are offering you gifts." "But surely you want something," Sarah insisted. "Military alliance? Protection? Economic partnership?" The Kethmori representative made a sound like wind through leaves, which Sarah realized was laughter. "Admiral, you still do not understand. What you have done, do you?" Before Sarah could respond, Valdana activated another holographic display. This one showed the battle in the Kepler 442 system from 6 months ago. "Every species in this chamber has studied the recordings of your fleet's actions," Valdana said. "We have analyzed your tactics, your decisions, and your motivations. Do you know what we discovered?" Sarah shook her head. "You came here with no expectation of profit or gain. You brought your entire military force to save a species you had never met. In a star system 47 light years from your home, you risked the lives of 40 million of your people for strangers who could offer you nothing." The aquatic representative spoke up. "When we asked our behavioral specialists to explain this action, they said it was impossible. No species acts this way." "But you did," said the Kethmori. "And then, when you discovered the true scope of the Devourer threat, you found a way to save everyone instead of simply destroying the enemy." Valdana's light patterns shifted to deep blue, which Sarah had learned indicated profound emotion. "Admiral, what your species did was not military strategy. It was not politics or economics. It was pure moral courage." Sarah was quiet for a long moment. "We just did what seemed right." "Exactly," said Valdana. "And that is why we have one. More proposal." A final hologram appeared, showing a symbol that Sarah did not recognize. It looked like a star surrounded by smaller points of light. "We propose the formation of the Galactic Rescue Alliance," Valdana announced. "An organization dedicated to responding to distress calls from any species, anywhere in the galaxy. And you want humanity to lead this alliance?" Sarah asked. "We want humanity to be this alliance," the Kethmori corrected. "We will provide technology, resources, and support. But the ships, the crews, and the decisions should be human." "Why?" Valdana stood and walked to where Sarah was sitting. "Because, Admiral, when species send out distress calls into the void, hoping that someone, anyone, will hear them and care enough to help, they are hoping that someone like humanity will answer." Sarah thought about Dr. Alina Vasquez back on Earth. "Still monitoring space signals at the Deep Space Communications Array?" Alina had asked her. "To send a message when the mission was complete?" "First speaker," Sarah said, "I need to send a transmission to Earth, of course." Sarah activated her personal communication device and spoke clearly into it. "Dr. Vasquez, this is Admiral Chen. Mission accomplished. The Zilani are safe." "But Alina, we have learned something important out here. When we left Earth, we thought we were going to save one species. Instead, we discovered that the galaxy is full of people who need help, and there is no one else willing to give it." She paused and looked around at the representatives of 47 different species, all of whom were watching her with hope and gratitude. "We are going to need more ships." 6 months later, Dr. Alina Vasquez sat in her office in Chile. monitoring signals from deep space. Her job had changed since the Zelani mission. Instead of just listening for signals, she was now coordinating responses to them. In the past month alone, she had received distress calls from 3 different species in various parts of the galaxy. Each time, she had forwarded the calls to the new Terra rescue fleet, which now numbered over 2,000 ships. Each time, the response had been the same. Humanity sent everything they had. Alina smiled as she watched her screens. The galaxy was a dangerous place, full of conflicts and disasters and species that preyed on the weak. But it was also full of people who just needed someone to care enough to help, and humanity, it turned out, was very good at caring. Her communication system chimed with an incoming signal. Alina put on her headphones and listened to a new voice, calling out from the darkness between stars. To anyone who can hear this, the voice said in a language Alina did not recognize, "We are dying. Our sun is collapsing. If there is anyone out there who can help us, please." Alina was already reaching for her transmitter to contact the Terra rescue fleet when the voice added something that made her pause. "We have heard stories of a species called humans who answer distress calls. If you are real, if you truly help others, as the stories say, please come quickly. We do not have much time." Alina smiled and opened a channel to Admiral Chen's new flagship. "Admiral, we have another call for help." "And Admiral, they have heard of us.